Spring is upon us, and Cathy and I have just returned from our annual leek harvesting expedition. We try to get enough for the whole year, but the highlight for us is the first potato leek soup. So the ingredients are pretty simple. You got yourself potatoes, you got yourself wild leeks, some fatback or a little smoked pork, and we're going to put that all together. Not much of a recipe really. I'm going to put a little milk in it and salt and pepper, and that is the entire recipe. The way I look at cooking in the 18th century, most of the people on the frontier were illiterate, and even if they had a cookbook, they wouldn't be able to read the ingredients. They cooked with what they had, and leeks, as I say, is my favorite time of the season because, well, it's the flavor that comes from these little wild onions. Some call them leeks, some wild leeks, some call them, what are some other names? Wild onion is another name. Anyway, whatever you call them, I just call them good, and they're going to go in my soup, and that's going to be supper tonight. I remembered. It's called ramps, and probably the most common name in the American colonies. Wild leeks would have been more common here in Canada. It is such a passion in the Appalachian mountains and the Appalachian people that they actually have festivals. They have ramp festivals where they have wild leek eating competitions and entire weekends and weeks devoted to this little vegetable. It was introduced to the Europeans by the natives. The Cherokee looked at it as a medicinal plant almost, and it was sort of the first greens that they would get in the spring after a long winter. It is full of antioxidants, potassium, some micronutrients, different vitamins, but it's the antioxidant capabilities of this particular plant that make it, well, aside from the flavor, worth harvesting. The thing with wild leeks, one has to remember, it in some parts of the world, and it grows from Georgia to Canada, but in some parts of the world it's been so over harvested that it's in danger of well, going obsolete. So one has to be very sustainable in their approach to harvesting leeks. Cathy and I have been harvesting from the same plot for almost 20 some years, actually over 20 years now, and we have not affected it. In fact, I think we've enhanced it a bit. We loosen bits. We take a pocket of them here and then a pocket of them 6 feet away and another pocket 6 feet away. And we got about a half an acre that's like a carpet of leeks. And it's our best kept secret. We don't tell anybody where our leek patch is. You know, in Indigenous cultures around the world had a philosophy that you never over harvested anything. So if they had let's say a particular medicinal plant, sometimes they were fairly hard to find, fairly scarce. Their theory was take 3, leave 7. But they would take it to an even greater level with the leeks because of the importance of this crop to them. So they would dig down through the soil till they, like obviously you've got the leaf above ground, but they'd carefully dig down, and then below grade they'd take their knife and they would cut off that root, and they'd leave that root undisturbed in the soil. So they take the part that they wanted to consume, but they left the root to propagate. It's worth noting that the leek from its flower, it'll flower in the summer, it's quite a beautiful little flower, that it takes 5 to 7 years for it to come full life cycle. And that's why over harvesting can be really detrimental to them. So one has to be, as I pointed out, extremely careful in how much you take from any given spot. In terms of a plot of it, like the one that Cathy and I harvest from, it can take upwards of 20 years before a plot of that size would establish itself. And then carefully managed, sustainably harvest, it will last a lifetime. So again, back to my recipe. For those that really follow recipes, they're not going to like this. I'm figuring that's enough leeks. I've got 6 potatoes peeled. That should be enough potatoes. I got some fatback I'm going to get on the frying pan here in a minute, and essentially that's the recipe. A little bit of milk. Yeah, so potato-wise, we planted our early potatoes about 3 weeks ago, and we're now into just coming to the end of May. They'll be the potatoes we'll eat through the summer, and then we'll be planting our winter storage potatoes in about a week. So around the first week of June, they'll harden off better, and they stay long enough that we have them in the root cellar for eating all winter, and we have enough root stock, or seed potatoes I should say, to start next year's crop. Off to the stream to rinse these. Nothing wrong with a little dirt, you know, it gives it a kind of an earthy taste. You combine that with the salt pork and a little bit of soap, and you got yourself one grand supper. Maybe one more time. So springtime is a fantastic time if you love foraging. Most plants that are edible, well, if they're edible year-round. But in the springtime, they're tastily edible versus bitterly sour edible. So springtime is the time. An example would be cattails. In a week or so, right about now actually, if you harvest down to the roots, you'll find a stalk that's about the size of my little finger. If you peel out the outer layer, it's pure white. And if you chop that up and saute that in a little oil or butter, it tastes, well, if you blindfolded yourself, you wouldn't know it from fresh asparagus. So now's the time to get out. And for just a shout out to Melanie Sawyer. She's an avid forager. She was on season 10 of Alone, did very well. She has her own channel, and I suggest if you're interested in finding these and lots of other goodies in the forest that you should check out her channel. When you know it, it's going to rain on my parade. So I'm going to go into the tavern. Actually, I think I'll go into the blacksmith shop, get a fire going in the fireplace, and finish building this soup in there. You know, another thing is I always keep my knife at hand when I sleep. So when I go into my blankets tonight, there's going to be effervescence of wild leeks permeating the cabin this evening. And that's okay too. Some people say they eat to live, and others say they live to eat. Well, today I'm living to eat. In go the leeks. So I'm going to drain about half the water, and I'll be adding a little milk. We've got some nutritious fluid in there, so we're not going to get rid of all of it. So this is a doable way to mash potatoes, but the next time I fire up my forge, they're going to make me a historically accurate potato masher. I am so. Final ingredient, and something my mom put in any soup I ever saw her make, was a dollop of butter, and I got a big old one here that's going to just enhance the flavor. There's a lot of different ways to preserve foods. For example, the salt pork we used. Salt obviously is a method of preservation before they had refrigeration. But dehydration was another way. So if they wanted to enjoy leeks and other succulent plants that are succulent at this time of the year, they would dehydrate them. And there's documentation of how the natives typically would do it just on big flat rocks on sunny days, and it was the children's job to sort of tend the crop that had been laid out in the rocks for preservation, and they would turn it periodically. They'd bring it in at night, put it back out in the day so the dew didn't get on it, and eventually they'd dehydrate that, store it in birch bark baskets, for example, in their longhouses and wigwams, and it could be stored in bags, cotton or linen bags hung from the rafters of the cabin. So they could enjoy leeks year-round if they had the energy to pick enough of them. That's going to be a grand supper.